All right, in the vast wasteland that government spending sometimes can be, we've already heard of stories of the IRS spending $50 million on conferences, on Veterans Administration employees going to Orlando on taxpayers' dime, and who can forget the Las Vegas trips that the GSA officials took. But we've got a new one today. How about government contractors who, on your dollar, spent time weightlifting and watching TV when they were supposed to be watching a warehouse? That's the latest example from the Environmental Protection Agency's Inspector General, who reported this week that a contractor who received $750,000 to manage a warehouse right outside the nation's capital in suburban Maryland. They spent their time instead weightlifting and watching television. They even were smart enough to go behind the security camera so they wouldn't be caught. What happened to the building? Well, it fell into enormous disrepair. There was rat feces all around the building, mold growing on the walls, boxes of government documents laying unsecured, even former passports of government officials sitting in open boxes that could have been stolen. The Inspector General of the Environmental Protection Agency called it just a deplorable set of conditions when they went to the building in College Park, Maryland this past few weeks. What has happened to the contractor? Well, EPA quickly took action and fired them. But the question remains, how could a contractor go on for years? The contract dates back to 2007, we're told, without being detected that what was going on was weightlifting and television watching and not what the American taxpayers were paying that contractor for. That's a question that's going to remain to be answered. When the EPA Inspector General's investigators got to the warehouse, they found a fully equipped weight room where the workers apparently spent their time pumping iron. They found a television den that had been made out of leftover furniture and televisions that had been at the warehouse, where employees apparently sat watching television on our dime. It was a fairly set of disgusting circumstances elsewhere in the warehouse beyond where the workers had set up their own little den, their little playroom. Elsewhere, they found rat feces all over the place in boxes of documents that were stored there. They found mold growing on the walls, and as the EPA Inspector General reported, the warehouse was in quote-unquote deplorable conditions. All this for $750,000 of your money being spent. The Washington Guardian has reported the story, and we're pressing for more answers. We're asking the EPA, where and when and how often are you inspecting these warehouse contractors that you have all across the country? EPA said they just did a review and they don't believe there are any other problems besides this one in Washington. But it raises a good question. How often and how aggressively is government checking the work that they pay for with your tax dollars? Americans work hard for their tax dollars, and when they see government contractors pumping iron and watching television on our expenses, it really does go to the core of anger that we sometimes have about government. People ask, why is government in so low esteem these days? I think this episode is one good example of that. It's a good answer for the reason why.